Next is our sedimentation analysis. So for the particle sizes which are below than 75 micron, we cannot do the sieve analysis because the particle size is very small and it does not go through the sieve easily. So for that we go for the sedimentation analysis, and the sedimentation analysis is based upon the Stokes law, which states that if a sphere is falling in a medium of infinite extent, so first its velocity will increase due to the effect of gravity, and after some time, because the forces will balance each other, it will attain a constant velocity which is known as terminal velocity. And this terminal velocity according to Stokes law is given as gamma s minus gamma l divided by 18 mu into d square. So from here, gamma s is the unit weight of the soil solids, gamma l will be the unit weight of the medium, and mu is the dynamic viscosity of the medium, and d is the particle size or the size of this sphere. So for a given medium, mu and gamma L will be constant, or for a given soil, the specific gravity and unit weight of soil solids will be constant. So V will be proportional to d square. It means that if we can find out the velocity of the fall, then we can calculate the dia of the particle, and that's what we are interested in. So that's how we do it, but there are some limitations to the Stokes law. First of all, of the particle size. So it is valid for the particle sizes between 0.2 mm to 0.0002 mm. What happens if the particle size is greater than 0.2 mm? Then it causes turbulence. And if the particle size is less than 0.0002 mm, then for that Brownian motion takes place, and in both cases it is not possible to apply the Stokes law. There are some other limitations, so let's see them one by one. In the Stokes law, it is considered that uh, particle the particle which is falling, or whatever it is falling, it is a sphere. And in our case, for the clay particles, they are never sphere, they are the plate like structures. So this is one of the assumptions. And so what we get from here is the equivalent dia of the particle, not the not as if it is a actual sphere, but the equivalent dia of the particle. And the next is the velocity of free fall of a single sphere in a medium of infinite extent. So as I said earlier, we are in the Stokes law, it was considered that only one sphere is falling and the medium is of infinite extent. That means there are no boundaries here. It is just the medium. In all the directions it is infinite. But in our case, we'll perform the experiment in some tube, so it is a finite medium. So there may be interference due to the walls, and it is not another thing is it is not a single sphere also. There will be a number of particles. It cannot be a single particle anytime. So there may be interference due to the presence of other particles also. But what is found out by the experiments, that if the concentration of particles is below 50 gram per liter, then the interference is negligible. So we can use the Stokes law. Next is the average value of specific gravity is used. So whatever the soil solids are there, they have variation in the specific gravities, but we use the average value, and because these particles are very small, so that average value does not give much error. And these particles contain some charges on their surface, so they have the tendency of flock formation, and to avoid that, we if there is a flock, so the flock will have a greater weight, so it will be having more velocity. And if velocity is more and it is not the equal to the velocity of a single particle, so this should be avoided. And to avoid that, we use some deflocculating agent. The most common one is sodium hexamethophosphate. So how it is performed? First we take a oven dried sample and we mix it with a known volume of distilled water, and then we give it some treatment depending upon if there is some organic matter or calcium is present. So what is the pre-treatment? If organic matter is present, then we heat up the sample and then we add hydrogen peroxide to remove that organic matter, and for to remove the calcium we add 0.2 an hydrochloric acid. To remove the calcium, and to avoid the flock formation we use some deflocculating agent. And then we thoroughly mix the sample and then we move to the actual experiment. And it can be performed by using by two methods. First is pipette method and the other method is hydrometer method. So from the exam point of view, hydrometer method as such method is not important. Some corrections are there which may be asked, and pipette method is easier than that, so it can be asked but it is not generally asked. So first let us see the pipette method. So what we do in this method, after mixing the sample we start taking the observations. So let's say this is the sample, and so we draw out some sample at different time intervals like 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minute, like that. So what is the logic here? First of all, we insert the pipette at some constant height. So this is the constant height HE. So we'll always draw out the sample from the same height. That height is normally 10 centimeter, and that 10 ml sample is drawn out from the pipette. So what is the logic here? It's after mixing at time t equal to 0, at every point the concentration will be same, but as we allow some time to pass and t is equal to t1, then as soon as the experiment starts, the solids will start falling down. So at t equal to t1, the whatever the solids are, some of them will have gone below this height HE. So what has gone below height HE, that we can find out by, so the particles, if they are traveling from the top, so we can assume that in t1 time their velocity is HE by t1. So the particles whose velocity is greater than HE by t1 would have crossed this distance. They will be somewhere here, and particles whose velocity is less than HE by t1 will be under suspension above HE. So we can correlate this value with their dia using the Stokes law. So Stokes law, according to that, it is gamma S minus gamma L d square by 18 mu. So these value we know, and from here we can find out the dia corresponding to the height HE by t1, corresponding to the velocity HE by t1. So this, so the particles which have settled down below the height HE, they have dia greater than this, because V is proportional to d square. So if d is more, then only V is more. So the particles which are below this point He, they have dia also greater than He, and the particles which are above He have dia less than He. So we can find out the percentage finer than D. Let's say D is the dia of particle at height He. So it will be equal to weight of solids per cc at depth He after time t divided by weight of solids per cc in the original suspension. So the particles which have velocity less than this value, say they will have the dia also, so they will be in the suspension. So if we find out the concentration of solids at height He divided by the total concentration, so from there we can get the percentage finer, and after percentage finer we can plot the percentage finer we have got and the dia also we have got. So using both we can plot the grain size distribution curve. So the samples are drawn at different time intervals, as I said, and so the for finding out the concentration of particles, what we do, whatever we draw out from the pipette, we will oven dry that sample and then divided by, if it is a 10 ml pipette, so that constant whatever the weight of the solid will be divided by 10 ml, it will give us this concentration. On the overall concentration we knew in the beginning of the experiment, we knew the volume of this container and the liquid in it, and the what amount of solid we have added. So from that we can find out this value. So next we will do the hydrometer method.